Moms, dads, what are we doing? Well, we are raising an amazing young man. I mean, let's be real. That's what every parent wants. They want their son to grow up to be a man of integrity, a man of character, a great husband, a great father, a great employee, a great employer. That's the big picture. And in today's video, I'm going to break it down. I'm going to give you 10 tips of things that you could be doing with your son to help create that man that we all want him to be. So let's get right at it.
And now the most trusted name in all of youth sports, here's Coach Mark.
Hey there, Coach Mark. Excited to be here with you today. I know you're anxious to get to what are these 10 things that we can be doing during this incredibly influential time called youth sports. What can we be doing to help your son become the man that we all want him to become, right? It's all coming up. I think you're really going to appreciate this video. But before we get to it, I want to remind you, this particular video is going to be historic, and here's why. We are going to hit 2,000 subscribers from this video. We're closing in. I think we're right around 90 subscribers away. So please, if you're not a subscriber, help us reach that 2,000 benchmark. We're going to blow right through that and keep going. But 2,000 is significant, and here's why. When we hit 2,000, and you can help us do it if you're not already a subscriber, we are going to make some big announcements. You are going to be very, very excited. If you are a subscriber to the channel, when we hit 2,000, I'm going to make some really big announcements. So if you're already a subscriber, share this video with other people. Let's blow through 2,000, and I'm just chomping at the bit to make these announcements. All right, let's get right into these 10 things that I'm highly recommending that you do. Oh, wait, I have a disclaimer. Okay, most of these, all of these actually are non-baseball. So if you were thinking I was going to be talking about the 10 things to do to get a scholarship, you might have been thinking about baseball things, when in reality, I'm talking about things bigger than baseball. Now, I'm getting dangerously close to overstepping my bounds into parenting styles, okay? But having raised 2 sons of my own, having worked with thousands of young men, I can promise you the parents that do these things are really, really helping their sons for playing baseball, but way beyond baseball. So hang in there with me. Try not to be too offended if I'm talking about something and it feels like I'm telling you how to parent your son. Just bear with me. I really have a heart for helping these young men. So let's get started with number 1, chores. That's a word you don't even hear that much about anymore. Chores. That means that your son has responsibilities around the house that he is in charge of. Okay, now when I was growing up, I had to dust. I had to, we called it clipping the lawn. I had these little hand clippers, and I would go around and clip them. We had a push mower. I'm dating myself. We had to cut the grass. We had to trim the hedges. I had to keep the garage clean. That was part of it. I'd sweep a dusty old garage. I didn't get paid for any of that. My dad and my mom made it clear to me that I was a part of a team, and on a team, everybody has to pull their weight. Everybody has to do their job, DYJ, right? I learned at a very early age. I think it's an awesome life lesson for a young man to have chores and understand he's part of a team and everybody's pulling their own weight. So that's number 1. Number 2, an established bedtime. I think a lot of kids are missing how important sleep is, and they're missing the discipline of going to bed at the same time. The kids I'm talking to, there's a lot of kids, they don't have a bedtime. They get to pick when they go to bed, when they go to sleep, and they're teenagers, most of them, or younger, and they don't understand the value of it. So, as a parent, I would encourage you to establish a bedtime and hold them accountable to that bedtime. Number three, you knew this was coming, academic standards. You know, certainly to play college baseball, you need to be a good student athlete. But beyond that, I tell all these young kids, look, if you call yourself a competitor, you're competing everywhere, including the classroom. So, mom and dad, I really encourage you to have academic standards and goals and consequences when they slack off, which they sometimes will, but they need to understand when that happens, privileges get taken away. Keep those academics as a top priority. Number four, hobbies. If your son has hobbies, that's fantastic. But if he doesn't, I would love to see you encourage him, find out what he really likes to do and help him do it. A lot of kids like to go fishing, okay? So, take them fishing, hunting, hiking, biking, playing a musical instrument. There's just so many things that kids could be interested in. But here's what happens. This youth sports thing starts getting in the way. Pretty soon they're flying through their childhood, one-dimensional baseball, and they miss great opportunities to do other things. I love it when I hear kids are in scouts or things like that, achievement organizations, things like that. So make sure that they're doing things that they love to do that are non-baseball. Number five, community outreach. I love to hear about these young kids and their parents that are helping them understand a concept called other-centeredness. Let's be honest, we live in a world that is incredibly self-centered. We think about ourselves, we do things for ourselves, and a lot of people, sorry to sound so judgmental, are not volunteering their time, they're not giving back, they don't have an other-centered mentality. Boy, you can really help your son if you help him get involved in some sort of community outreach. I mean, we've done things with Miracle League. Boy, you want an eye opener. You will never, ever, ever take another day for granted of playing baseball when you go volunteer at the Miracle League and find out these kids in wheelchairs, these kids without legs, these kids that can't see, that would love to be playing baseball, but they can't because they have some significant physical limitations. You go volunteer and help those kids, stand beside them. They call it the buddy system. It's unbelievable. That's just one thing. Go to your local food bank. There's just so many things. Go out, pick up trash. And it doesn't have to be organized. You don't have to be a part of a group to do it. You can actually say to your son, hey, what can we do to serve our community? And let's go spend some time doing it. And by the way, mom and dad, it's a great thing for you to do with them. So I love community outreach projects. Number six, written down goals. I've alluded to it before during my presentations that I do, during my Zoom presentations. I show a slide. The Harvard Business School did a study on people that wrote down their goals versus people that don't. And it's just a massive difference. So you want to do your son a huge favor. Help him understand the power of goal setting. There's very specific things when it comes down to goals. And writing them down is number one. So that's a great habit to help him develop. Number seven is going to sound kind of radical, an accountability partner. Too many people grow up and nobody's holding them accountable, really. I know as a young Christian, I remember getting involved with some great Christian men who, we called it an accountability group, and it was very transparent. It was one of the most transparent groups of people I've ever been around because, we're all walking around with this facade. And I learned early on that everybody's struggling, everybody's, trying to do things, but they're having a hard time getting them done or trying not to do things, having a hard time not doing them, whatever. But when you have an accountability partner that you really trust, it changes everything. So if you can just talk to your son about that, having an accountability partner, maybe it's you, but oftentimes it's an uncle, an aunt, could be a friend, could be a teacher, could be a guidance counselor, could be the youth minister at your church. There's just a lot of people that you could trust if you have those kind of relationships. So, big one. Number 8, a job. Yes, I said it, a job. I had jobs growing up that I got paid for. And I don't know, maybe it inspired me to be an entrepreneur. I mean, you probably know my story. Out of Mercer University, I got 2 jobs and I did a good job at them. I was a top producer, but very quickly I figured out I really like controlling my own destiny. So I started my first business at 26. I'm 62. I haven't had a formal job since 26. Okay. But here's the point. Having jobs teaches you a lot. You are being held accountable and you are learning how hard it is to make money. Some of these kids are growing up, especially in some well-to-do families, and they are not understanding how difficult it can be to earn money. So they don't have a full appreciation of money. I used to do this with my kids. It was called hired or fired. I would give them a job. I would tell them I would pay them for the job, but I'm going to come back and evaluate their job, and I'll tell them whether they're hired or whether they're fired. And it was fun, and they learned a lot. But when you understand it takes effort to make money, boy, things change for these kids. I mean, I had a paper route. I had like 30 customers that I would go around every week, deliver the papers, collect the money. Then I would stand at a grocery store, and I always had like 10 extra papers. And I would just stand there, and I would say, it was called the Pennsylvania Grit, Grit. I don't know if it's still in existence, but I would just stand there as a 12-year-old kid. People would come out of the grocery store, and I would say, would you like to buy a grit? Would you like to buy a grit? Would you like to buy a grit? I learned a couple things about that. Number one, most people say no. So I learned the law of large numbers. Somebody's going to say yes, but there may be 20 people say no first. Then I also learned that not everybody's nice. There were people walk by me. Picture me. I'm a 12-year-old kid trying to make a quarter on selling a newspaper, and guys are like, that thing's a piece of junk. I would never buy that. They're like, dude, I'm a 12-year-old kid and you're trashing me. It was crazy. But you learn not everybody's nice. And then that money in my pocket, wow, I earned that money. I mean, that was valuable. So I'm going on and on because I'm an entrepreneur and I love to see young kids learning the value of making money, how to make money, what it takes, because they have a different appreciation for money when they have a job. Number 9. Oh my gosh, this is a huge one. Nutrition. We got to be teaching these kids that what they put in their body matters. I get so tired of hearing people saying things like, well, they're just kids. What are we waiting till we get sick to start thinking about what we put in our body? I mean, my wife and I eat a whole food diet. I'll just tell you flat out. We don't eat processed foods. We don't eat sugar. We don't drink alcohol. We don't eat processed foods. Okay, a whole food diet. And we're both in vibrant health. Well, these young kids, if they could learn that early in life, it would put them so far ahead. Obviously, it affects their performance. So, really taking nutrition seriously and teaching them the value of that is a true life lesson. Number 10, screen time limits. I have a thing on my phone that tells me how much screen time, how much I've been on my phone. And I see a lot of kids, and I have a feeling they're on that phone way too much. So you could come up with a number, very tangible number, and say, that's it. That's how much time you're allowed to spend on your phone. And that would teach discipline. And obviously, if you're not on your phone, you're probably doing something else, maybe one of the things that I just mentioned, and it's way more productive time than looking at that screen. Okay, those are the 10. But of course, I have two bonuses for you. Are you ready for bonus number one? Yes, it's having a pet that you are responsible for, or I should say that your son is responsible for. I mean, really responsible. Boy, when you have a pet and that pet's life is in your hands, it's an amazing responsibility. But let's be honest, most parents, they don't give the full responsibility to their son because their pet might not make it if it's up to the son. But that's the point. We have to put that level of responsibility on these young kids so they understand what it means to take care of something else. And number 12, and probably the most controversial, is going to church. My wife and I go to church every Sunday, and we go there because we're in a fellowship of other people, other Christians, and it's wonderful, and we value those relationships. You know, I hear this term all the time, oh, I'm not very religious. I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about a relationship with Jesus Christ. So I highly recommend that young men grow up going to church, learning to be part of a fellowship. And to help that, I'm offering a free book, a free devotional that I'd love for you to have. I started a ministry. And even if you're not going to church, or even if your son's not going to church, this devotional is so incredible. It's written as if you're having a meeting with Jesus. I do it every morning. And it's given me the blueprint of how I want to approach this day. It's talking about faith. It's talking about trust. It's talking about gratitude. It's talking about forgiveness. It's talking about helping other people, other-centeredness. There's just so many great messages and life lessons in here. And I want you or your son to do it. Now, the ultimate would be that you guys actually spend a little time together in this book and talk about it. That would be my ultimate dream for you guys. So anyway, those are the 12 of all those things. Of course, faith is number one for me. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I know when I start talking about my faith, some people get a little bit cringy. I get it. I'm sorry if you feel that way, but I am feeling inspired in a very big way. So I'm just doing what I'm feeling inspired to do. So thank you for listening, and until the next time, God bless.